Hello, my name is Caoilinn Hughes and I'm going to read from the opening of The Wild Laughter. And it doesn't need any introduction. Imagine a 30-something Roscommon man. 1. The night the chief died, I lost my father and the country lost a battle it wouldn't confess to be fighting. For the no-collared labouring class, for the decent, dependable patriarch, for right of entry from the field into the garden. Jurors were appointed to gauge the casualty. They didn't wear black. Don't they know black is flattering? The truth isn't. They kept safe and silent. I didn't. When is a confession an absolution, and when is it a sentencing? I'd like to find out. I suppose there's only one outcome for souls like us, heavy-going souls the like of mine and the long-lost chiefs, and not a good one. But I lay it on the line, if only to remind the people of who they are. A far cry from neutral judicial equipment. Determining the depth of rot that's blackening the surface can't always be left to deities or legislators. Sometimes what's needed is to tie a string around the tooth and shut the door lively. 2. He was a bright young thing, my brother Cormac. His mind was a luxury. The face was rationed, it must be said, but there's not a body with everything. Part T-Rex, part pelican. Picture that menace of features. Close-eyed, limb-chinned, skin thick as the red carpet he imagined laid down beneath his wellies. Tall as the door he expected to be let in. When he was 12, he looked 20. The mind was ahead, as I said. The odd girl went in for such a harrow of a fella. The odd girl, and not the even, on account of his brains and his chesty conduct. Not that he was liberal with his cleverness, but there was the atmosphere of it. Knowing at any moment something you'd say would be turned inside out like a child's eyelid to traumatise you, to show you the violence behind it that you never meant. Or maybe you did. I might have voiced some innocent idea, some vague concern about a spray the chief was sampling. And Cormac would go, yeah, atrazine. It's no fucking DDT, but it's been proved to be an endocrine disruptor. Environmental Protection Agency done a ton of research on amphibians, showering them in new compounds, and the creatures wound up with extra pee holes, a surplus set of balls, or a quarter fanny 2/5 bollocks, scrambled their sex organs, so it did. Foul stuff in high doses. And then I'd nod and mutter a bit, dizzying with the image of the 2 pee holes, as if a snake had bit itself in its own artichoke green scales, and I'd be caught up in the symbolism to do with a snake snacking on its own tail, nodding along because Cormac didn't abet attention wandering, and I'd get a clobber on the head if I asked was a snake an amphibian. He'd have clocked my yeah-seeing and he'd go, "So you're anti-pesticides, would you say?" On the main, I might answer, I am. There's natural ways to rid a field of pests, letting birds eat the little ladybugs and all that, isn't there? Some of them chemicals do more harm than good. I might not be a fan of dogs, but teeny frogs are adorable. Then he'd look down his bucked nose at me, like a horse that couldn't be fucked to lep the last fence for the sugar cube reward. And I suppose you think 7 billion people can be fed on a batch of organic carrots? Yeah, privileged, gentrified, self-serving colonial twit, letting billions starve so long as they're out of sight, all to spare a few extra cunts on a toad. As I say, I didn't resent him his mind. Early on, its potential was fearsome, but he cached it away too long, until it curdled. He could have his intellect. I had the looks, the chief's mud-coloured locks, yellowing now like a stack of cut grass, drying out for haymaking. Hey! Square skull, cultured nose, the kind of eyes that might be described as pea and mint soup, best served cold. I was shorter by my brother by a foot, but it divvied up as good as David. I'd the emotions of every girl in the County Roscommon over a barrel, a fact he found hard to swallow, in spite of her, maybe because of the pelican chin. Excepting gobshites, I liked people, and I was well liked, for no good reason far as Cormac was concerned. I'd zilch to contribute in the way of knowledge or guile or points for the home side, and sure, how else can a person be of use? Sport lent him an absence note for the farm work that needed doing, for the care work, for the life sentence. His absence meant my containment. Stay put, heart, he was telling me. Stay a mile wide of my circle. There's only so many circles in a town the size of a souterrain. What I did and said reflected on him, so he wanted the sticks brushed from my hair, the charm wiped off my face. He wanted me capable of summing sums and changing tyres, to be mad on mechanics, Newtonian and Fordian both, to know a stock option hadn't to do with cattle. But I wasn't after his or his boyo's approval, that panel of experts. Where we're from, infants get swaddled in Hessian sacks. I never bought into an alternative reality. No matter how low the interest rates limboed for the new millennium, no matter how you could go the whole way to Dublin on a test drive, and no, if you weren't satisfied, no one would lambaste you or demand a tenner for petrol. Cormac did clinch a deal with the new reality. Nothing daft. He didn't barter his youth, as many did, for a barge on the Shannon or a conservatory extension or an interior decorator or a rotary milking parlour or a personal stylist. No. He wanted a college education, a new way of life, less like subsistence, one that didn't stink of fear and survival, a challenge that called for grey matter and not grunt work. He did fast maths on how the island was transfiguring. One of them scenarios like, if a train is going at such and such a pace in the direction of a stone wall, but it's absolute gas crack on the train, what are your options?